Hi everybody and welcome to my next tutorial. My name is Multanen and this one is dedicated to all of you Photoshoppers who just decided to use After Effects to create some crazy stuff. And probably most of you are a bit confused because we don't have any of those blending options in After Effects. I mean, the stroke effect, gradient overlay and stuff like that. Uh, Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Basically, you won't find this in After Effects, but you can still create similar effects, and I've already prepared some presets for After Effects that you can download from my website. And just to show you what I'm talking about, let me just create something in here. For example, a star, or maybe this one. Okay, let's just draw something. Okay, we have a star, and now we go to our blending options. Just drag it in here so you can see. And now, first of all, drop shadow. We have drop shadow in After Effects, but it doesn't behave the same way because basically we don't have this parameter inside of After Effects. We only have distance, angle, opacity, and size. No, I don't even believe we have size. There's something that is called softness, and this basically works the same. So first of all, drop shadow, then stroke. Everyone is complaining about the lack of stroke effect in After Effects, so I've created a preset for this also. And next, the gradient overlay. So we could have angle, scale property, align with layer, and basically choose more than two colors, because After Effects in default comes with only two colors, and this effect is called ramp effect. And today I will show you how we can recreate these effects inside of After Effects. So let's get right to it. So let me just create a new composition. Let's make it 640 by 480, that's okay. And now let's create a solid. That would be okay. Let's make it, for example, 300 by 200. Okay, and first of all, drop shadow. So we do have a drop shadow in After Effects. And as you can see, this creates a drop shadow. That's interesting. We have opacity in here. We have the angle. Let me just increase the distance so you can see. And we have the softness, which is similar to size, but we don't have this parameter, which, as you can see, increased the intensity of the drop shadow. And this could be a pain if you're used to working in Photoshop, and I will just like to show you how you can achieve the same effect in After Effects. So let's just create a drop shadow on this layer. This is actually a cool trick that I've came across while importing some Photoshop footage into After Effects. Let's just leave it like this. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. And let me just save this as a PSD file. Drop shadow. Okay. And now let's import this into After Effects. Let me just delete this solid for now. And import drop shadow as a composition. This is important, as a composition. And now let's go into this composition, and as you can see we have 3 layers: background, which is okay. Let me just turn on the transparency option. Okay, we have this drop shadow, and we have the layer itself. Now when we go to the effects and select this layer, you will see a Photoshop drop shadow effect that you can't find anywhere in your effect palette. This is a hidden effect that only shows up when you import Photoshop footage, but this doesn't work with any other option from the blending options. At least, I didn't find anything else that comes to After Effects like this. And if you would like to use this effect in the future without importing the Photoshop footage, you can just create a preset from this. And to do that, just go to your animation and save animation preset, but be sure that you have this effect selected. So animation, save preset animation, and I already have this in here, so let's call this Photoshop underscore drop shadow. Save, and that's okay. Let me just delete those. Let's go back to our comp and let's create a new solid again, and let's apply Photoshop drop shadow. And as you can see, we have the same effect, but the layer is gone. And this is basically because Photoshop works the same way. Each time you use blending modes, it creates a virtual layer. I think I can call it like that. And this is basically what happens. So if you would like to keep this layer visible, you have to duplicate it and get rid of the effect. So this is the downside of this technique, but you can still have the intensity option. So if that's so important to you, I think you can live with that. Okay, let's move on. Next, what about the stroke effect, right? What if we had some nice curvy layer in here and we would like it to have a stroke around? Or what if we would have some guy dancing against, the green background, and we would like to key him out and then put a stroke around him? Well, basically, if you want to put a stroke in After Effects, you have to draw a path or a mask. So you do it like this, for example, and then you apply the stroke effect, and this is how it looks. We have brush size, brush hardness, and everything, but we need this line in here. So what if it was a guy against a green background? Well, then we could use some auto tracing or things like that, but this would be very time consuming, and we would like to have the stroke effect based on the alpha channel, right? So let me just create something that we could use. 300 by 200, and let's create a new solid in here, and let's draw a mask around this. So maybe let's create a rectangular mask, and now let me just zoom into this. Let's turn on the grid, show grid, and snap to grid would be nice. And now let's use the pen tool to get some round edges around it here. So like this and like this. And now let's get rid of those vertices in here. Well, you know what, I could round this up, but I think this will do just fine. And now let's go back to our original composition and let's import this. And what if we would like a stroke effect around this? Well, I've already created a preset for this, so if you're not interested in how things work, just go ahead and download the preset. This is how it looks. You of course need a duplicate layer. This is the only disadvantage of this technique. So let me just go back and duplicate this and apply the stroke effect, and just twirl everything down and open the effects that don't have the ignore here. So we have the size slider and we have the color picker for this, and you can do this with any any type of layer. So this could be a video with alpha channel, for example. And now, if you'd like to know how this works, well, this is basically a minimum maximum filter that is set to maximum right now. And the radius is based on this slider. So this is just a maximum operation with some color adjustment. Is CE color solid that you should have in your default After Effects installation. So there we go. I think this is the simplest way to create a stroke around the alpha channel of any given layer. And now the most interesting part. Let's create a gradient overlay. So let's get right to it. I have a preset for that also. Let me just duplicate the layer. Oh no, we don't need to duplicate the layer right now. Okay, so here we are. Let me just twirl down everything. First of all, angle control. So this is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I need to go into details in here. Then align with layer. You already know that from Photoshop. If this option is turned on, then the scale factor calculates the scale according to the size of the layer. If this is turned off, it calculates the size of the gradient from the size of the composition. So this works the same in Photoshop. Let me just move to the blending options and let's apply gradient overlay. So we have align with layer option in here. As you can see, when I go down to 30% and I turn the sun on and off, this gradient becomes bigger, and this is okay. We have the angle control also, and we have the gradient picker, right? We don't have the gradient picker in After Effects, but we have something similar. So let's go back. And now, what's this gradient anchor? Well, this is, we don't have this option in Photoshop, but we still use it. I mean, when we turn off the gradient overlay, we can move the gradient up and down, or left and right if we have this in a bit of an angle. So this is it, and anchor point does exactly the same. Let me just turn off this. So gradient anchor is basically the same thing. Just drag the anchor and you get the same effect. And the most interesting part, what if you would like this to be something more than just two colors, right? Because this is basically a ramp effect that comes in with After Effects. Just to show you what I'm talking about, let me create a new solid. Let's go to the ramp, and let's drag it in here. We have these two control points, and we have a start color and the end color. So we only get to use two colors. And what if we would like this to be something more? So let's go back to my preset, and this is where colorama filter comes in. And the thing that interests you the most is the output cycle. And you already have some presets in After Effects built in here. So let's turn on the deep ocean, for example, and there you go, a nice multicolor gradient that you can, modify. Just drag this, or drag this off to get rid of the color. And you can also control the alpha of a given color. So this is pretty cool. So this is a good trick if you would always wanted to create multicolor gradients in After Effects and you just didn't know how. I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and most of all that you will enjoy my presets that you can download from my website www.meltenon.com. Stay tuned for more exciting tutorials. See you there. Cheers.